Good morning and welcome to Fix It Finance. I'm just gonna go live on Instagram and then we would get going. We have a good one for you today. We are talking about how to create a financial plan. Mm, okay, my Instagram is not working today. Okay, there we go. Pardon me, I'm just trying to go live on Instagram and it is proving to be something else. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yay. We are good to go on Instagram. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. Today we are talking about how to create a financial plan. Um we have a good one for you today. Okay, so welcome to Fix It Finance, where I help you take control of your money so you can be free to seek God. You understand? So I talk about this here on Fix It Finance a lot. That when you get your money right, when your budget is budgeting and your finances is financing, and everything about your financial life is cooperating, your prayer points will change. You understand? If you don't believe me, just try it. Just mistakenly get out of debt first. You understand? And just see what happens to your prayer life. You understand? Because a lot of times, um, this life that we're in, if we're not careful, we end up making, debt and some other things our source instead of God. Instead of believing God for things, you just run to debt. But that's not why we're here. Today we're talking about how to create a financial plan. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, so you know when new videos are posted. I've been posting a lot of shorts. I have a whole bunch of content already recorded that gets released on a scheduled basis. So make sure you subscribe so you can get be the first to know when that's happening. I go live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So, I take questions, comments, and co on Instagram and on YouTube while this is going on live. And then, like I mentioned, don't forget to hit the notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube. So, um, today we're going to talk about how to create a financial plan, and this today's concept is broken into four parts. So part one, we're going to talk about to determining what your long-term plan is for money. Before you start creating a financial plan, keep going. What is the real? Where are you trying to end up? You understand? Number two, we're going to talk about making sure you and your significant other are on the same page, because there's no point if the two of you are not in agreement. One person is going to be making progress here, the other person is going to be eroding or erasing that progress. Number three, we're going to talk about understanding, differences between what is the difference, not differences, the difference between the financial plan and financial operations. And I've created my own definition for these two particular concepts. And then we're going to talk about picking a plan. I'm only going to go into like the top 3 or 4 plans depending on our time. There are 1,010,000 financial plans out there. And then of course we're going to talk about monitoring progress. One of the things I need us to know and understand is when it comes to anything finance, any teacher you're listening to, any guru, any expert, anything you're doing out there, you take the lesson and you apply it to your own self. You understand? You don't in the best example I can think of is you don't use Saul's armor. You understand? Like you take the concept. Okay, so the thing is you need to fight Goliath. You need to fight, you need to get your finances in order. That is the fight. What you do is you hear advice, comments, ideas and whatnot from different people, and you sit down and you think, okay, how does this apply to my own situation? You understand? Don't go bending your life to match somebody else's. Instead, you take their concept and you find a way to, quote unquote, submit to it, but in a way that works for you and your family. Okay. So, anyways, we'll get into it and then, see where your mind is at in terms of questions and comments and whatnot. So let us get right started. Oh, great. Okay. So the first thing is to determine your long-term plan for money. So as a person, as a couple, as a family, you need to decide where it is you want to go. A lot of times a lot of people don't have a long-term plan for money, in the sense of we're just making this money and spending it. There's no real destination in mind. You understand? So what this particular section is talking about is, what is the destination? You understand? What is the point of all the working you are working? Is it just to pay bills? If that's what you want, sure, by all means, do you more NGO to your armpits. You understand? Take some time to take stock and think about this race we are running, this race that we are all running. What is the end goal exactly? So here are some examples. For example, you want to have less commitments and obligations so you can give more time or spend more time with God. That could be a destination. You understand? So as you're thinking of your finances and saying, Lord, if I had my way, I would pray 6 hours a day or pray 3 hours a day or spend more quality time with you. It's just this bill of a thing is there. You understand? So that could be an end goal in mind. That, okay, you want to get to a point where you have less commitments and less obligations so that you have more time to spend quality time with God. You understand? Or you want to have less commitments, less obligations so that you can give more, you understand, to the things of God, for example. So instead of, let's say you make $6,000 a month, $5,000 a month, instead of you spending the whole 5,000, you want to spend three so that you have two, or 1.5 to be able to give out, you understand, for kingdom projects. You get? So these are just examples. Some examples include, okay, you want to ensure your children never have to borrow again. You want to set your finances up such that by the time you are leaving this earth, you set not just the first, second, and even third generation down to the fourth generation up in such a way they will never have to borrow again. You understand? Another example could be, you want to be debt free and just have no payments. You just want the freedom of not having your paycheck go to different people every time of the month. You understand? Of course, there are some bills that are, recurring and whatnot, but you just want a situation whereby you are not overly leveraged and overly committed. Another one could be, you want to give towards God's kingdom, like I mentioned earlier, and sponsor missionaries year round. There are some people where, for as little as 500 a month, you can sponsor one or two missionaries in different parts of the world. Meaning you pay them $500 a month. These people are going to be able to cover their bills because you're paying in a stronger currency. They'll be able to cover their bills such that they can live in a place for a whole year. You understand? On that 500 a month you're sending, to be able to preach the gospel year round and plant churches and whatnot. So those are, I'm just giving you different examples of what could be your end goal. Your end goal could be, you want to retire comfortably. You understand? So that you won't be a financial burden to anybody. You just want it that as soon as I retire, no, I don't need anybody. Nobody, quote unquote, needs me either. I just want to be me, my spouse, or me, myself, and my children. We're just doing our own thing. We are not troubling anybody. Let nobody trouble us. So what is the end goal? So take some time to think up, where would you like to end up financially? You understand? Are you the kind of person you want to get to a point? For example, one of the things me and my husband want is that we want to be able to be generous, like super generous, such that we hear a need and we answer it, and our left hand does not even know what our right hand is doing. You understand? You see someone that needs a car, you're able to buy a car, give them a car for free without, you understand, anybody knowing what's going on. So what again, what is the end goal for yourself? What is your long-term plan for money? If not, you're going to find yourself in a circle where you're just repeating the same thing over and over, working, the money comes in, you pay bills, and you move on. And again, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you are comfortable with. There's no judgment in this game. The other thing is, you want to make sure. Did I share this thing on WhatsApp? Okay, I think I did. Okay. The next part we want to talk about is to make sure you and your significant other are on the same page. Now, this is very, very important because, as we know, there's that passage that talks about, can two work together except they be in agreement? And this is not even just scripture. In general, if you're working in, for example, a lot of us work in teams. If we have people in the team that are in disagreement, for example, with the supervisor or with the manager and vice versa, the team does not move forward as quickly as it can. You understand? If you have two people in the team that are fighting, things just don't progress quickly. Okay, so what you want to be is, if you have a significant other that you're working this journey on with, you want to make sure you are on the same page in terms of, where are we going? Sit down and dream it up together. What exactly are we trying to achieve? Okay, so for example, our short-term achievements could be, we even want to get ourselves on a budget just to even know what exactly we are spending money on, because a lot of people don't know. They don't keep track of their expenses, so they don't even know where their money is going. They just know, okay, we make it and it flows. They are guesstimating, like, oh, I think we spend 200 a month on restaurants. I think we spend 500 a month on groceries. Meanwhile, when you sit down and you look at the actual numbers for the past 6 months, they are spending sometimes 3 or 4 times what they think they are spending. again, just having that knowledge together as a couple, as a family, as a unit, understanding that knowledge alone could be the difference between making it and not making it financially. Okay, so can two work together except they agree? If you don't agree, okay, what you will find is one person is putting effort here to get the finances in order. The other person is just living that vida. What's that? I don't know. But anyways, the other person is just there living life like nothing is even happening. You understand? Okay, so can two work together except they be in agreement? Okay, for example, and when you have budget meetings, I'll even give an example. This morning, my husband and I, just before we started this meeting, we were going over our September expenses, and I was being called to account on what on what I spent money on, because we were over our budget by about $100 and something. And I had to, because there are different things that came up I didn't plan for. For example, my son is starting daycare next month. Some expenses came up I did not plan, and just little things like that. Plus, I may have spent extra, just a tiny bit on Timothy. But you know what I mean. So that's what I'm saying. Like, but the point is, we are having those conversations. We are in agreement on how we want to do things, okay, and where we're trying to get to. Okay, it's just in my husband's mind, we can get there in 10 months. In my mind, if we get there in 12, I'm okay. You understand? But we're heading in the same direction. Okay, so like I said, if you don't agree, you will find whatever effort one person is putting in is being erased or eroded by the other person. Okay. You don't accidentally build or keep wealth. Okay. Even if you accidentally receive money, for example, by way of an inheritance, if you don't manage it well as a couple, as a person, it will disappear. Okay. So you must be focused. You must have a destination in mind. Okay. And the other reason why you want to be on the same page with your significant other is one person can do, a lot. But when two people do it together, they can do much more. Okay. So if you're cleaning the house, for example, if you're doing it by yourself, it might take you maybe 2 to 3 hours or 2 to 4 hours. But if the two of you combine and do it together, you might be able to get so much done in an hour and a half. Okay. So one would chase 1,000, two tens of thousands. That's the popular passage, right? So there's for example, as the two of you come together and you are planning together, you're discussing on your finances, you're managing things together effectively. What happens is there are things he would see that she will not see, and there are things she would see that he would not see. For example, like one of the questions my husband asked me, say, how come we spent this amount on groceries this month? It's like my brain just wanted to. I say, is it that you did not follow me to the store and see the prices of some of these things that are in the? That's why if you watch some of my shorts this week, I was complaining about Costco. That Costco used to be a place where when you go, you spend money, you will see you spent money. But now, even when you spend money, there you're like, what did I buy? You understand? So again, you must be on the same page with your significant other. The biggest reason is so that your efforts are channeled effectively instead of one person making progress, the other is not. And I find it funny when I see people that are like, oh, I'm making progress, but he is not making progress. In my mind, I was like, you don't think your progress is a is negating each other. You think you can make progress alone, and the other person lack of progress will not affect you. That's very hilarious. Okay, because again, that goes into all the marriage rules and whatnot, but that's not why we're here. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about, like I mentioned, this session is broken into 5 parts. We're on number 3 right now. So understanding the difference between a financial plan and financial operations. And I know a lot of people get this kind of mixed up. You understand? So one of the things I really wanted to do today was to define it so that you have a clearer understanding of what is what. So a financial plan is the overall strategy that you are using as a roadmap to achieve your short, mid, and long-term financial goals. Now, this is the definition I came up with myself, just based on everything I've been seeing. So it's the overall strategy that you are using as a roadmap to achieve, to get to your destination in your short, your midterm, and your long-term financial goals. So there are short-term goals. So for example, a short-term goal could be you want to get current on all your bills. Anything you're behind on, you want to get that paid up and up to date. A midterm goal could be, okay, within the next 1 to 3 years, I want to be debt-free. You understand? And then a long-term goal could be, okay, between now and year 2035, I want to max out all my retirement accounts, my TFSA, RRSP, everything. I want to make sure it's full up, including RESPs for my children. That could be a long-term goal. Okay. So now the financial plan is the strategy you're using to get there. What are you going to be doing to make sure, okay, I'm heading this direction. This is where I'm trying to get to. Okay. Financial operations, on the other hand, deals with the day-to-day handling of cash inflows and outflows to ensure you are meeting your stated financial objectives. Okay, so financial operations is okay, are we going to combine finances this way or combine finances that way? Financial operations is okay, automating this bill, automating that bill, finding ways to cut expenses here, keeping track of your expenses so that you know what's going in, what's going out, keeping track of how much you spend in restaurants, how much you spend on groceries, how much you spend on gas, how much you understand. That's financial operations. That's your day-to-day handling of cash inflows and outflows. But you're handling it in such a way that it is helping you get to your stated financial objectives. Okay, your stated financial plan objectives. Okay, so any questions there, please let me know in the comment section. I see guesstimating. Yes, so guesstimating is a word. I don't know if it's in Oxford or in the dictionary yet, but it's a word. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to pick a plan. So we're going to discuss some of the top plans that are used by different people on their wealth building journey. Now there are several. You can even create one yourself if you want. But these are some of the popular ones that are out there. I think I have 4 here. I'm just looking at my time. I really hope we get to it all 4. Even if we don't, you will get the general gist. And then I really want us to talk about monitoring progress, because that is extremely important when it comes to this journey. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is something called the 7 baby steps. Now, it was made very popular by a person called Dave Ramsey. So this financial plan basically states 7 baby steps or 7 steps to do. You do each step in order, and then that kind of gets you to your goal. Okay, so step 1 is to save $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. So this is supposed to help you answer all those little ankle biters that come up in your budget that you don't plan for. Okay, that are actual emergencies. Now, one caveat for all the financial plans, each one involves you understanding your budget, keeping track of your expenses, again, so that you are monitoring cash inflows and outflows to ensure they are getting you to your stated financial objectives. Okay, so the overarching of all of this is that no matter the plan you choose, you are keeping track of your day-to-day financial operations to ensure you are moving towards the goal you set. Okay, so in other words, you're budgeting to keep it simple. So step 1 is save $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. Step 2 is to pay off all your debts except your home using the debt snowball method. We've talked about the debt snowball method, which is where you list all your debts, smallest to largest. You pay minimum payments on everything except the smallest one. You throw every extra cash flow you have at the smallest one. Once that is paid off, you take all that cash flow, throw it on the second one. Once that's paid off, you keep going until you pay off everything. Okay, so that's the debt snowball method. You put every debt in this category: car loan, student loan, any other loan you have, except any loan that's related to your home, which comes in a different step. So baby step 3 is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So basically, you calculate how much you spend on average, in a month, okay? And you save 3 to 6 months of that as an emergency fund, okay? So what that means is, if let's say your home expenses is usually 4,000 a month, if you multiply that by 3, that's how much? Whatever that is, 12,000. That is your emergency fund for your household, okay? Or 6 months. Some people do a year as well, depending on what you're comfortable with. And yes, there are people that have an emergency fund of up to a year available at their beck and call. It is very doable. It is very possible. Don't believe the lie that it is not. Okay. The next baby step is to invest 15% of your income into retirement accounts. So what happens is, you've paid off all your debts, you've freed up so much of your cash flow, you've built up an emergency fund. Now that emergency fund is full, what you're going to do is you're going to calculate 15% of your take-home pay. Whatever that amount is, you put it into your retirement account. So your RRSPs, your TFSAs, okay? Then any part of still that your excess cash flow. If you remember a few weeks ago when we looked at the pie charts for budgeting, when we talked about, okay, being able to save potentially 25%, 40% of your income and whatnot, what you find is when you've paid off all your debt, you have all this free cash flow. Okay, now it's that from that free cash flow that you're going to use to finish the rest of the steps here, which is the baby steps 3, saving of your emergency fund, saving 15% into retirement accounts. So baby step 5 is to save for your children's college education. So this is where you open an RESP for them, or something called UTMA in the US. You understand? And then you fund it. Okay, you put money in there towards their college education. Baby step 6, you pay off your house early. So again, baby step 5, 6, and 7, sorry, baby step 4, 5, and 6 are done at the same time using the free cash flow you were able to get from paying off your debts in step 2. Okay, so you put 15% towards retirement, you put some towards your child's education, and you put some towards paying off your house early. Okay, and then baby step 7, once you're done paying off the house, you now, you know, build wealth in the sense of you fill up all your retirement accounts, and then of course you give generously. So that's one financial plan you can choose to follow. The next one is something called FIRE. So financial independence, retire early. So the short form is FIRE, financial independence, retire early. So what this focuses on is to aggressively save and invest to retire much earlier than the traditional retirement age. So usually how it works is this: most people that are pursuing FIRE, they learn to live on 50% of their income by drastically reducing their expenses. I know there are people that are doing upwards of 70%. They are living on 30% of what they make, and they are saving and investing 70%. And madness, I know, but it is possible. You understand? Drastically, so they save 50% or more of their income. Meaning, if they're a household that brings in 10,000, they are saving upwards of 5,000, like 6 or 7,000, and living on just 3 or 4. You understand? And using that to build wealth for tomorrow. So they are aggressive about it. Okay. And it's similar to the baby steps in the sense of these people, what they do is they take the 70% or the 50% of their income that they are not using, they rush, they pay off any debt they don't have, any debt they have, consumer debt usually. Some of them even rush to pay off their house as part of this process, and then they build wealth in the sense of they might so the goal basically is to accumulate at least 25 times your annual expenses. Okay, so let's say your annual expenses are 100,000 a year. Okay, so what they want to do is they want to save up aggressively and quickly, and usually a lot of them do it in 10 to 15 years or less. Okay, they aggressively save such that 25 times their annual income is saved. Okay, and then it's saved in what you call it, a retirement account, and then they now withdraw from it and live off of, say 4% of whatever it is they've saved up. So for example, let's say a particular family, they live on $50,000 a year in terms of actual expenses, or even 60, so that's 5,000 a month, right? So they're going to take that 60,000 times 25. 60 times 25 is about 1.5 million. They're going to aggressively save 1.5 million and have it invested such that they will now start living off of the 1.5 million. Okay, whatever the 1.5 million is producing. Now, if on average, most of the people that are in the FIRE movements, they usually put money in like low cost ETFs or index funds, real estate, dividend paying stocks, and mostly things that are doing passive income. It's not too active. Okay, for example, you might have a family where the whole 1.5 million is invested in just ETFs. So what happens is, on average, the return on, say, an S&P 500 ETF is 10%. So what will happen is that 1.5 is going to make 10% this year, assuming. So that's 150,000. They're only going to live off of, instead of the full 10%, they're going to live off of 4% of that. Okay, and they leave the remaining untouched, and that's how they live for the rest of their days. Okay, to achieve retirement much quicker. Okay, so the focus is to live well below your means, invest the difference for financial independence, and it's a very aggressive timeline. Okay, now it takes an intense amount of discipline and an intense amount of sacrifice to achieve FIRE, and to do it, in the time frame that a lot of people do it. So another financial plan is the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. So basically, this it's similar, it's like right in the middle between a financial plan and just financial operations in general, based on the definition that I talked about. But this strategy basically says you divide your income into needs, wants, and savings. So this one is for the people that say, I can't stand the sacrifice of the FIRE movement, that's just ridiculous. You understand? It's also for the people that say the 7 baby steps, I don't want to pay off all my debts and wait to invest. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about whether you should invest first or invest first, save and invest first, or pay off debt first. Some people are like, I don't want to do pay off debt first because my debt is too much and I don't want to wait till when I'm done that. I want to do everything at once. So this kind of plan is for those type of people. It says the 50-30-20 rule. It still involves a lot of sacrifice. So the strategy basically divides your income into needs, wants, and savings, right? And it says you allocate 50% of your after-tax income to needs, housing, utilities, groceries, phone bill, blah, blah, blah. Think of it as all your bills, okay? You allocate 30% to your wants, entertainment, dining out, vacations, taking the children to Disney World, blah, blah, blah. And then you allocate 20% to savings and debt repayment. So 20% of your income, no matter what it is, as soon as it comes in, you put it again. If you were with us when we did the pie chart, I spoke about this in that particular where you have like 20% of your income going towards debt repayment. So your emergency fund, retirement, extra debt payment, blah, blah, blah. 30% towards wants, and then 50% towards your needs, right? So housing, groceries, utilities, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So again, similar process, but this one provides, an almost like a balance between saving and expenses. Okay. And it's usually suitable for people who want a simpler day-to-day framework. You understand? It does not have the intensity of the baby steps or fire is intense. You understand? But it does not have that much intensity as those two. Okay. So now let's go into the last one, which is, this one is from the book. Again, if you were with us, I think 5 weeks ago, I mentioned, taking the time to listen to the Richest Man in Babylon book. It's on YouTube. It's free on YouTube. I'm hoping it's legal where it's free. But I've read this book a few times and I've listened to it a few times myself because I really, really like it. So this is a plan again from the Richest Man in Babylon. So the guy mentioned that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things for you to do. Okay, again, it's almost a shadow, no, not a shadow. I feel like the baby steps is similar, but this one again also has that balanced approach, meaning you're not focusing your effort on one thing, you're doing everything, you understand, to a large extent. I personally like the focus method because I just like that, I want to know that, okay, I'm focusing on paying off debt. Okay, debt is you and me. I'm focusing on building my emergency fund. Okay, emergency fund is you and me. For example, now that I'm going to be going back to work soon from maternity leave, one of the first focus we have is to rebuild our savings because we depleted it during my maternity leave. So first focus, build it back up. Then we can focus on other things. You understand? So that's what I'm saying. I like the focus method personally, but for some, you might want to do all things at once, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, pick what's best for you, focus on it, and do it well. Okay. Again, like I mentioned, I think I said this last week a few times. Follow through, follow through, follow through. That's the most important thing. You can pick plans from now to next year. If you don't follow through, you might as well sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and how I wonder what you are. Okay. The Richest Man in Babylon one. So the first so it mentions 7 things in the book. So basically the summary of the book is in 7 things. Rule number 1: save 10% of what you earn consistently, no matter what your income level is. So as soon as your paycheck land, 10% automatically, it's considered a paycheck to yourself because you are paying all these other people, your car people, your bank, your mortgage, but you don't pay yourself. So this book is saying pay yourself first, 10%, no matter who it is, just carry it and put it away for you and you alone. Okay. Number 2, live below your means and avoid lifestyle inflation. So in the sense of, if you make 5,000, you should not be spending 5,000. You can't even spend it if you're putting 10% away anyways, but still find a way to reduce your lifestyle such that you are not, and avoid lifestyle inflation in the sense of, don't be keeping up with the Joneses and trying to do what everybody else is doing. Live within your means, live below your means, and focus on avoiding lifestyle inflation. Okay. So in other words, because you get a raise does not mean you should go and get a new car, or because you start a new job that's paying you 110,000 does not mean you now have to go and upgrade your house. Okay. And you can choose to, you are well within your rights to do so if you want to. Number 3 is to invest wisely in opportunities and grow your wealth steadily over time. Okay. Emphasizing getting rich slow, not slow like in the sense of not getting rich at all, but it emphasizes investing wisely in opportunities that grow your wealth steadily over time. So for example, an example would be the S&P 500 ETF I talked about. So this one is growing your money steadily over time. Okay, over the years, on average 10% per year, steadily over time. Okay. Avoid risky investments and take advice from trusted, experienced sources. So this means the money you're investing in the last step make sure you avoid risky investments. Don't go and give your money to your next door neighbor that says they've heard of this amazing forex trading platform that they are using that's making them 30,000 per day, and you too, you can carry your head and put it inside. You understand? Avoid risky investments and take advice from trusted, experienced sources. I find it fascinating, and I say this on this channel all the time. Maybe it's because I've seen too many people fall for it. Your next door neighbor, your friend from work, your church member will come and say they have this new thing that they are doing. You don't know their experience. You know, this person is a nurse, and now they are claiming to be a life insurance expert. I don't understand. How did the again? God forgive me. I don't think I'm going to go too much into that. But you know my thoughts on some of these things. From trusted, experienced sources. Now, there's nothing wrong with a nurse becoming a financial advisor. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's just I would have seen the track record. You understand? I would have seen the results. By their fruits, you will know them. Okay. The next thing it talks about is owning your own home and work towards financial independence. Okay. And then after that, it says plan for the future, ensuring you have income even after retirement. So we talked about that in the first part. And then increase your earning potential through continuous self improvement and education. Okay. And as that income comes in, you flow it through the remaining steps up above. Okay. I think I see it coming here. What happens to the 10% savings just leave it in the bank? No, the 10% savings is invested, but not in risky stuff like we talked about. So you take that 10% that comes in, you invest it wisely in opportunities that grow your wealth steadily over time, and you avoid risky investments and take advice from trusted, experienced sources only. So that 10% is sitting there, going towards either, for example, if you're building up an emergency fund, that's where it will first go. Then once the emergency fund is full, then it goes towards your retirement savings. It goes towards your children's education. It goes towards all the other areas you need to invest in, real estate, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And of course, when you find a way to reduce your living expenses, you would increase from 10% to even more. Okay. But the 10% is an absolute minimum. It's like a do not pass go, do not cross this line. Okay. If you do nothing else, you must pay yourself that 10%, Okay. um I kind of rushed through that richest man in Babylon one just because I really wanted to get to monitoring your progress. Okay. So you must, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, you must keep track. So your budget, your debt, and your net worth, you must keep track of all three. So budget, debt, and net worth tracking. Okay. All three are a must to keep track, because if you have a goal, you have a destination, how do we know when you reach there? You understand? If you're not tracking that, if you're not tracking anything, then you can't measure progress, and you must be able to measure progress. You must be able to measure where it is you're trying to get to. Okay. So you must track all three to know the state of your flock or your finances. One of my favorite scriptures, and I think I'm going to do a session here where I talk about some of the scriptures I really, really like when it comes to money. One of my favorites is to know the state of your flock. Is in the Bible, is clear. You must know the state of your finances. Even if you are not fully immersed in what's really, you must know the state at every given second, any given day. You must know, okay, this is the state of my finances. And the reason why it's important is because when you are faced with opportunities, or you are faced with just realities of life, sometimes you have to make split decisions. If you don't know the state of your finances, you might end up signing up for something you can't even afford, which happens to a lot of people. You understand? Or you might end up making decisions that you can't afford to back up. Okay. It's only the government that's allowed to do that. A politician will come, you promise free bus pass to everybody. Meanwhile, he has not looked at how he can afford it in the budget. They will go back and figure it out. Only politicians can do that. You are not a politician. So, you understand? You should know the state of your flock at any given time. So, all three of them can be tracked using Excel, using a debt, net worth, or budget tracking app. So there are apps that help you track this. And of course, simple pen and paper and a journal. So you have no excuse. Even if you say you don't understand computer, you don't understand app, no problem. Use pen and paper. Have a journal. You understand? Have a book like this. You get, where you are tracking every single thing by paper. I have a friend that does this. He has a journal like this. When I saw it, I was so touched. I was like, oh, this is so cute. He literally has a journal, small book, is smaller than this, and he keeps track of everything inside. You understand? So pen and paper is still better than nothing. Okay, you can use Excel if you are versed in Excel, or you can use an app if that's what floats your boat. Your budget should track your cash inflows and outflows and keep track of your expenses. So you budget in the sense of, you said you're going to spend 500 on groceries, but when you finish, you actually spent 650. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means if you find yourself consistently spending 650 for say 3 months in your budget, then what that's telling you is your 500 is either not enough, or you need to find a way for your 650 to come down and match. Okay. Your debt tracker should track how much debt you are in, how it is declining over time, significant information such as interest rates, minimum payments, and it should include a plan to pay it off using either the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method we've talked about. We've talked about this in the previous video. I went into detail on the debt snowball and the debt avalanche method. Your net worth tracker should also should track what you own minus what you owe. Okay, the number that this equation generates should go up every year. So even if you start out at minus 42,000, for example, next year it should be minus 20,000. You have made progress. The next year it should be minus 2,000. You've made progress. Then the year after that it should be plus 15,000. Do you understand? So you've made progress. That number should go up every single year. Okay, your net worth tracker should track what you own minus what you owe. That is a very simple calculation. Everything you own, write it on one side or on top. Everything you owe, write it at bottom. Plus minus is grade 2, grade 5 math. It's not difficult. You understand? And then you go from there. So the reason I'm saying it's not difficult is so you understand, because sometimes when you hear some of these finance terms and whatnot, they can seem overwhelming, but I'm here to let you know it is not complicated at all. Keep it very simple. So what you own minus what you owe, whatever that number is, your focus should be to grow that number every single year. And you can only grow it in a few ways. One, you add more to the top line, which is what you own. Or two, you reduce the bottom line, which is what you owe. Very simple calculation. Okay. Monitoring progress is the only way to know if you're on track to achieve your financial plan. Okay. And hopefully, depending on whatever inspiration I get, I'm hoping to discuss financial operations next week, and at least something that will float your boat. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. I am very grateful for your time. I will see you all next week, same time, Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. And watch out for the videos I'll be releasing this week, the shorts and the long form videos. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. Bye.